Good morning, students. Hope all of you are fine. As you know that we have completed part 2. The last chapter that we have completed, it was Kings and Chronicles. So today we will continue with part 3 and theme 13. And name of this theme is Mahatma Gandhi and the Nationalist Movement. This chapter is based on the national movements launched by Mahatma Gandhi. As you know, if we talk about our freedom struggle, so the discussion about the freedom struggle, it is incomplete without consideration of Mahatma Gandhi. So in this chapter, we will discuss the nationalist movement of India. In the history of nationalism, a single individual is often identified with the making of a nation. There are various examples. Whenever we talk about the making of any nation, so some specified name is there. Like, for example, we associate Garibaldi with the making of Italy, George Washington with the American War of Independence, and Ho Chi Minh with the struggle to free Vietnam from colonial rule. In the same manner, Mahatma Gandhi has been regarded as the father of the Indian nation. This designation, this title, is not given without any contribution. Insofar as Gandhiji was the most influential and revered of all the leaders who participated in the freedom struggle. As you know, he was also known as the one man army. Just because of his strong thought process, he was equal to the army. So, as he was very much influential in the freedom struggle, that characterization is not misplaced. However, like Washington or Ho Chi Minh, Mahatma Gandhi's political career was shaped and constrained by the society in which he lived. For individuals, even great ones are made by history even as they make history. This chapter analyzes Gandhiji's activities in India during the crucial period of 1915 till 1948. It explores his interactions with different sections of Indian society and the popular struggles that he inspired and led. It introduces the student to the different kinds of sources that historians use in reconstructing the career of a leader and of the social movements that he was associated with. Beta, you can see this image is also given. This is related to the Salt March, Dandi Yatra. People gather on the banks of Sabarmati River to hear Mahatma Gandhi speak before starting out the Salt March in 1930. As you know, Mahatma Gandhi always came up with the new innovative idea against the Britishers, and this salt satyagraha, it was one of them. So the very first topic is a leader announces himself. As you know, in 1915 Mahatma Gandhi returned to India. So in January 1915 Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi returned to his homeland after 2 decades of residence abroad. Means almost 20 years he was in abroad, and these years had been spent for the most part in South Africa, where he went as a lawyer and in time became a leader of the Indian community in that territory. As you know, Mahatma Gandhi in South Africa also, he just worked for the Indian and the black people against the system of apartheid. As the historians Chandran Devanisan has remarked, South Africa was the making of the Mahatma. It was in South Africa that Mahatma Gandhi first forged the distinctive techniques of non-violent protest known as satyagraha. It means the idea of satyagraha, it was evolved in South Africa. And this satyagraha first promoted harmony between religions and first alerted upper caste Indian to their discriminatory treatment of low caste and women. As you know, there is a very famous proverb that the charity begins from home, and the same was adopted by Mahatma Gandhi. If they want to fight against the British, first of all, Indians are to unite themselves. And this was the first step that he alerted the upper caste Indians to their discriminatory treatment of low caste and women. As you know, Mahatma Gandhi, he was against the casteism and untouchability. The India that Mahatma Gandhi came back to in 1915 was rather different from the one that he had left in 1893. Although still a colony of the British, it was far more active in a political sense. The Indian National Congress now had branches in most major cities in town. Like in 1893, till that time, the freedom movement, it was not that strong. But when in 1915 Mahatma Gandhi came back to India, then the political situation was different. At till that time, Indian National Congress, it had branches in most major cities and towns. Through the Swadeshi Movement of 1905 and 1907, it had greatly broadened its appeal among the middle classes. Beta, this Swadeshi movement, this was the Swadeshi and Bicourt movement, and it was started in 1905 after the Bengal partition. As you know that Bengal, it was the largest and the wealthiest province, and there the nationalist movement was becoming very strong. So that is why the British, they adopted the policy of divide and rule, and they partitioned Bengal on the basis of the religion, and that was known as the Eastern Bengal and the Western Bengal. And do you know, beta, this Eastern Bengal at present it is known as the Bangladesh, and as you know that Bangladesh, it is a Muslim dominated area. So at that time the Swadeshi movement was also launched, and it was very much popular among the middle classes. That movement had thrown up some towering leaders, among them Bal Gangadhar Tilak of Maharashtra, Bipin Chandra Pal of Bengal, and Lala Lajpat Rai of Punjab. And these three legendary leaders, these were known as the Lal, Bal, and Pal. The alliteration conveying the all India character of their struggle. Since their native provinces were very distant from one another, where these leaders advocated militant opposition to colonial rule, and there was a group of moderates who preferred a more gradual and persuasive approach. But at that time, Congress was divided in two parts, moderates and radicals. Like हमने अभी इसमें पढ़ा that Lal, Bal and Pal. These belong to the radical groups who just wanted the drastic changes. They wanted the dynamic changes, and the moderates, they wanted the gradual changes. Among these moderates was Gandhiji's acknowledged political mentor Gopal Krishna Gokhale, as well as Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who, like Gandhiji, was a lawyer of Gujarati extraction trained in London. Beta, this Gopal Krishna Gokhale, he is known as the political guru or political guru of Mahatma Gandhi. On Gokhale's advice, Gandhiji spent a year traveling around British India, getting to know the land and its people. As you know, if you are to do something for your people, first of all, the basic thing to know them. His first major public appearance was at the opening of Banaras Hindu University BHU in February 1916. Among the invitees to this event were the princes, philanthropists whose donation had contributed to the founding of the Banaras Hindu University. Also present were important leaders of the Congress such as Annie Besant. Compared to these dignitaries, Gandhiji was relatively unknown. He had been invited on account of his work in South Africa rather than his status within India. As we have read that he had taken very prompt action for the betterment of Indian in South Africa. So just because of this cause he was invited here. When his turn came to speak, Gandhiji charged the Indian elite with the lack of concern for the laboring poor. The opening of the BHU, he said, was certainly a most gorgeous show, but he worried about the contrast between the richly bedecked noblemen present and millions of the poor Indians who were absent. It means Gandhiji explained about the contrast between the rich people and the millions of the poor. Gandhiji told the privileged invitees that there is no salvation for India unless you strip yourself of this jewelry and hold it in trust for your countrymen in India. There can be no spirit of self government about us. He went on, if we take away or allow others to take away from the peasants almost the whole of the result of their labor, our salvation can only come through the farmer. Neither the lawyers nor the doctors nor the rich landlords are going to secure it. It means the country's economy, it depends on the farmer. And the opening of the BHU was an occasion for celebration. As we know that so many reputed dignitaries were invited there. So the opening of BHU was an occasion for celebration, as it did the opening of a nationalist university sustained by Indian money and Indian initiative. But rather than adopt a tone of self-congratulation, Gandhiji chose instead to remind those present of the peasants and workers who constituted a majority of the Indian population, yet were unrepresented in the audience. And Gandhiji's speech at Banaras in February 1916 was at one level merely a statement of fact, namely that Indian nationalism was an elite phenomenon, a creation of lawyers and doctors and landlords, but at another level it was also a statement of intent, the first public announcement of Gandhiji's own desire to make Indian nationalism more properly representative of the Indian people. It means बेटा अभी तक जो हमने इसमें पढ़ा इसका क्या मतलब है, till that time till 1916 जो nationalist movement थी, जो उसके main political leaders थे, they were the doctors, lawyers and the elites. But according to Gandhiji, the larger deprived section of the society was ignored, and it was not face of the nationalist movement. So Gandhiji was presented with an opportunity to put his precepts into practice. And at the annual congress held in Lucknow in December 1916, he was approached by a peasant from Champaran in Bihar who told him about the harsh treatment of peasants by British Indian planters. And this Champaran Satyagraha, you are well aware about that, beta. During this Satyagraha, Champaran protest, Gandhiji protested against the indigo planters as they were not paying the wages as well as the proper amount for the indigo cultivation. And this Champaran Satyagraha, it is one of the early movement of Gandhiji. So hope all of you have understood this topic till now. Thank you and have a nice day.